Last part, part C, you guys. This is where we're gonna actually have a chance for you to practice. And so I'd like for you all to go through all 4 of these equations and actually solve them by putting the value of 0 in for y. So you're gonna put 0 equals 5 plus 2 times 3 plus 4x. And so for all 4 of these, put the value of 0 in for y, and you're gonna solve them. So what we're gonna do here is have you guys have a chance to pause the video, solve these, and we'll check our answers in just a bit. All right, so let's solve these guys here. Let's solve for x when y equals 0, and they want us to check our solutions in this case. So first things first, what we're gonna do is we have our equation written out with y equals 0. So if I take this first, my initial move is gonna be to distribute this 2 through. So 2 times 3 and 2 times 4x. So I'm gonna have 0 equals 5 plus 6 plus 8x. These guys are similar terms, so I would add them together. So this will end up being 0 equals 11 plus 8x. And then I'm going to leave my 8x over here, and I'm going to move the 11 over here. So remember, this is a positive 11, so I need to subtract 11 on both sides. These will cancel, so I have negative 11 equals 8x. Now, even though this doesn't go in, it's not those warm fuzzies we talk about knowing right away. It's okay to leave it in this form. So divided by 8, divide by 8, and we'll find out that x is going to equal negative 11 over 8. Got it? So let's check to make sure we're right. So in this case over here, we're gonna take this value here and plug it back into this setup. Now, I'm actually gonna plug it into this one here because it's a little bit more simplified. We don't have to redistribute everything through. So if I come back to this, rewrite this out here, 0 equals 5 plus 6 plus 8 times a negative 11 over 8. I'm gonna begin to see that. So I have some numbers here. I've got 5 plus 6 is gonna be equal to 11. And over here, you can see I'm gonna have this be 1 underneath that 8 there. We're cross canceling, so I'm left with this plus the negative 11. And you can see those are opposites. So we would get 0 equals 0, and that would check. That's our first one. C2, same process. They did switch it up. It's not a positive 2 going through. It's a negative 2 going through this time to be distributed. So negative 2 times 3 is going to give me a negative 6. Negative 2 times 4x is going to be a negative 8x. And I have my rest of my equation coming in. So I begin to combine terms here. You'll see I'm going to have 0 is equal to 5 minus 6 is going to be negative 1 minus 8x. Same idea. I need to move that negative 1 out of there. So since this is a negative 1 already, I have to add 1 to both sides to show that property of equality. This is going to cancel. 0 plus 1 is 1. That's equal to a negative 8x. Same idea. Divide by negative 8. Divide by negative 8. This is going to be a positive 1x. So I do have my value would be equal to negative 1/8 for the value of x. Again, let's check that. So again, we're taking this whole value and plugging it back up into this situation here, which makes it nice and easy. So I will rewrite this. 0 equals 5 minus 6 minus 8 times the negative 1/8. So let's do this part first. Actually, I did them out of order for the one up above. But negative 8 times a negative 1/8. You see what all these cross canceling going on? It's going to be left with a, because it's negative times negative, it's going to be a plus 1. So 0 equals 5 minus 6 plus 1. As you can see, if I go from left to right, 5 minus 6 is going to be equal to a negative 1 plus 1. Turns out 0 equals 0. Check. Got it. Moving on to part 3. Same idea, going to be distributing through this time a positive 2, but they changed the minus 4 instead of a plus 4x here. So I have 0 equals 5 plus 6 minus 8x. So work through this. You can see I've got 0 is equal to 11 minus 8x. Do minus 11 and minus 11. These cancel. I've got a negative 11 equals negative 8x. divide by negative 8, divide by negative 8. This is going to be a positive x. This will be, so remember, two negatives will make it positive, so I have a positive 11/8 in this case. Same idea, taking the value of this to check, to plug it into this equation here. I have 0 is equal to 5 plus 6 minus 8 times 11/8. And if you recall, remember we put that one underneath, we do the cross canceling because it's multiplication. This basically comes down to being, this is here, this is here. I have, this is 1, 1, this is coming through, multiplying all the way through. I'm left with 11/1, which would be a minus 11. So 0 equals 5 plus 6 minus 11. As you can see, we'd have 11 minus 11. 0 equals 0, it checks. And last one here, part 4. Same process, distributing this through to both pieces. I'm going to have 5 minus 6. Now it's going to be negative times negative. Don't miss that. It's going to be plus 8x. 0 equals that. So we have 5 minus 6 will be negative 1 plus 8x. And my 0 here. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. This is canceled, so I've got 1 is equal to 8x. I'm running out of room on my paper. So I'm going to divide by 8 and divide by 8. This becomes here. So you can see x equals 1/8 and positive this time. I'll take that back up here and plug this in. So I've got 0 is equal to 5 minus 6 plus 8 times 1/8. Calls like a 1 underneath, cross canceling. So I've got here 0 is equal to 5 minus 6. This is going to be plus 1. And 0 is equal to 5 minus 6 is negative 1 plus 1. 0 equals 0 and checks. So we got through those. Hopefully you had those sorted out, remembering those tricks of properties of equality. All right, so that was the what we'd consider classwork for problem 3.1. As you guys know, we usually preview what the ACE work is going to be. And for this assignment, your ACE work is only going to be questions 1 through 7. So let's take a look at that together. All right, so question number 1 says the organizers of a walkathon discuss expenses and income. They make the following statements. And here it is, all the expenses and all the income. So right away, your questions are going to be dealing with profit. Don't forget that profit equals income minus expenses as you work through this. So you need to suppose that you have 30 adults and 40 children that participate in the walkathon. Find total income, total expenses, and the profit. Show your work. So they want you to do all that work. Now, in part B, they have the exact same kind of question, although they want you to write an equation for that. Even though you might have done that for part A, maybe you can lump those two together. And then even part C, they ask you to write another expression that would be equivalent to what you did in part B. So you could use whatever your simplifying work is that you did in part B as part of your answer for C. Then they move on to part D and they ask you to suppose 30 adults and 40 children participate. Use your equation. So now they're kind of asking us to do something different from what we normally do. We usually go in and create the equation, then do some solving. So whatever order you do this work in, A, B, C, and D kind of all lumped together to be one question. And if you're understanding the different parts, that's going to be just fine to do that all together. E is where you actually put it to work though. They want you to say that suppose 100 children participate and the profit is $1,099. How many adults participated? So based on your equation, you're going to be putting 100 in for the children, $1,099 in for the profit, and do the work to moving around to solving for the number of adults. So be sure you show your work in that process. Question 2, you have again some other student work, Marcel and Kirsten. They did some work to simplify this equation, which is a pretty big one. They're both incorrect. Look, it says they both are incorrect. Study the steps and the reasoning and identify where their errors went wrong. So you can see that both of their work there where they make a mistake. So check through those there specifically. Number 3, there's another equation here. V equals 200 plus 50 times T minus 70, which is the number of visitors V to a park depends on the day's high temperature T in degrees Fahrenheit. Suppose 1,000 people visited the park one day, predict the high temperature. So we know that the 1,000 people visiting would go into V here. do that work to figure out what t would equal. And if you look carefully, 4 through 7 is a lot like what we did in part C. Just go through, solve for x, and check your solution to make sure that you're right. Okay, guys, hopefully this works well. I know you guys are working kind of alone. If you need to do some group working, connect with each other via FaceTime or some other networking app, you're welcome to do that. If you have any questions specifically for me, you're welcome to check out and connect with me on or during my office hours, and we can look to help you guys move forward there. All right, see you guys later. Bye.